Okay, hello everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, the nutrition detective, here on our weekly Friday live stream. We have some fun stuff to talk about today. We are going to talk about first, before we get to the Q&As, but for those of you who want to ask questions, it's first come, first serve, so get them posted. If you can't hear me, let me know. This is all a new setup, so there may still be some snafus. But anyway, if there's any issues, just let me know. Let's head into it. So first, I got a great testimonial from a woman just this week because I had consulted with her. She is working with me in my testing and consultation package approach. And her biggest concern when she came to me was osteoporosis. How can we start reversing osteoporosis? Now, those of you who have worked with me, you know that I don't treat any specific disease. It's not necessary. What I treat is the nutrient deficiencies, especially the minerals. We avoid toxins and poisons and toxic metals, of which there's many more than you realize, most likely. We help the body to get rid of the poisons that's already stored up. And then one of the really important things that seems to accelerate this process a lot is something called Lactoferrin. This is my brand. It is the best stuff on the market from feedback from people and based on the research. It's not whey based. It is from fresh milk, if you can understand what that means, based on the legal climate of words around dairy. But first, let me go into this testimonial. Here's what she says. For years, I have been struggling with osteopenia/osteoporosis with no improvements. I took the usual supplements recommended by my doctor: calcium, vitamin D, fish oil, and B vitamins, to name a few. None of those are on my program, by the way. And did my bone building exercises to no avail. Each time I had a DEXA scan, the readings were worse. Upon the advice of a family member, in September 2018, I started on Dr. Smith's program, changing my diet and supplements as suggested by Dr. Smith. In April 2021, after being on the program 2.5 years, I had another DEXA scan, and to my surprise, each reading showed improvement. Also, a thyroid ultrasound showed that my previously enlarged thyroid gland has now returned to its normal size. And lastly, I have no more trouble with trigger fingers, which had annoyed me for years. I think these are amazing improvements. Thank you, Dr. Smith. Okay. Do you see? I don't treat individual diseases. I don't have a protocol. Protocols are for jokers. You can't give the same protocol to a 200-pound man that you can to a 100-pound woman. That doesn't make any sense. You can't tell everybody that they need something, because one person may be extremely efficient at using something. They get what they need from food. One person may be terribly inefficient at using something, and they need to supplement. Protocols don't work. That's why what I do is a program. And I specifically have people watch for their responses to things. And I tell them that it's okay to stop something if they don't feel good. How many other programs, when you tell them, I don't feel good when I take this, they tell you to double down and take more? Most of them, right? They're like, oh, no. It's just detox. It'll go away. And then 6 months later, it hasn't gone away and you're worse. And then if you tell them about it, I know of a certain ivory tower academic who likes to give lots of nutrition advice on his blogs, who also answers free emails. His name might rhyme with neat. I've heard that when people are emailing with him for free, which you know what the value of free means, that if things aren't going well, and the person keeps saying, I'm trying what you're saying, it's not helping, I'm getting worse, what should I do? That at some point he will just stop returning their emails. That is chicken shit. That is chicken shit. I had a guy, he stayed with me for probably about 8 years. And I couldn't help his GERD. Nothing could help his acid reflux. Nothing. He stayed with me because he said, Dr. Smith, you're the only guy who doesn't think I'm crazy and doesn't think I'm not doing the program. Because I told him at one point, I said, I got no tools for you. My tools are out. I was honest. I said, what I'm doing isn't working. I don't want to stop you from seeing other people when other people might have the answer. He said, no, I'm going to stick with you. We're going to figure this out. And then the vitamin A detox phase started. Turns out this gentleman in his past had taken Accutane, and he had grown up on an orange tree farm. How else could you eat lots of beta carotene other than living on an orange tree farm? He said he used to go out into the fields of orange trees and just eat oranges all day. So we started talking about it. And he's now basically he used to be kind of a shut-in, almost like disabled because of this GERD. Anything he did would flare it up. He could eat like 5 things without causing a problem. And now he's better. So it's kind of a cool thing. So we are constantly chipping away the old and bringing in the new, but I didn't have a protocol for GERD. There's some things in the program now that I can see help that we do recommend when people have acid reflux. Yeah, there's some things you can do to help get that bile out of your stomach. Because I don't know if you know this, but acid reflux in your stomach and ulcers and H. pylori problems and nausea and morning sickness, they're all related. It's all bile in your stomach. You're pushing bile backwards up your gut into your stomach. And it's damaging your stomach. And that's why you get problems. So when we fix that, when we can kind of trap the bile that's in your stomach and in your esophagus, the problems go away. So what did we do with this woman? Trigger finger, osteoporosis. What was the other one? I lost track of it. Oh, enlarged thyroid gland, which would be autoimmune thyroid, basically. Did I give her iodine? No. Got the poisons out, put the nutrients in. Body fixes itself. God designed our wonderful machines to be self-repairing. We simply have to get out of the way. So then let's go into what we're going to go into today. So we're going to go into osteoporosis. I wanted to go into some of the causes of osteoporosis, because this is what we're fixing. And people want to see research. Some people want to see research. Some people just want to take people's word because they're on YouTube, and that's not my kind of thing. So I just posted a link to my old research forum where I have tons of research. If you want to go there and search, go to the links on the oldnutritionrestored.com website. That's my old website. And go in the little search bar on the website and search for terms that you want to know about if I've written about. I have 534 posts there. Go and look there. If you have questions here that aren't getting answered, go there and search. So this post was on osteoporosis and vitamin A. So first paper that we're going to talk about with a little quote. Excessive dietary intake of vitamin A is associated with reduced bone mineral density and increased risk for hip fracture. Okay, background. They give a background here in the paper. This is a quote. The highest incidence of osteoporotic fractures is found in Northern Europe. Where did they do the cod liver oil again? Where dietary intake of vitamin A, retinol, is unusually high. In animals, the most common adverse effect of toxic doses of retinol is spontaneous fractures. So we get to the measurements. They said retinol intake was estimated from dietary records and a food frequency questionnaire. Results. In multivariate analysis, retinol intake was negatively associated with bone mineral density. For every 1 milligram increase in daily intake of retinol, risk for hip fracture increased by 68%. For intakes greater than 1.5 milligrams a day, I'm not going to translate that into IUs. If somebody else wants to translate these into IUs in the chat, please feel free. Milligrams of retinol to IUs. So us Americans can know the same doses. So for intake greater than 1.5 milligrams per day compared with intake less than 0.5 milligrams per day, bone mineral density was reduced by 10% at the femoral neck. That's what they call the hip bone that breaks in osteoporotic fractures. So the femoral neck is your femur, but they call it a hip fracture. Okay. Reduced bone mineral density was reduced by 14% at the lumbar spine and 6% for the total body, and risk for hip fracture was doubled. And I put a note here that this is only 5,000 units of vitamin A. 5,000 units a day. Many of you people are getting that at breakfast if you're not trying to avoid vitamin A. Definitely most of you have it by lunch, especially if you're trying to be healthy. And they say here, conclusion, high dietary intake of retinol seems to be associated with osteoporosis. Note how they did not distinguish between synthetic and natural. Synthetic vitamin A is just as toxic as natural vitamin A, and if you continue to spew that garbage, you're wrong, and you're going to hurt yourself and your family by denying the reality of chemistry, folks. Then we have another one, serum retinol levels and the risk of fracture. Results, the risk of fracture was highest among men with the highest levels of serum retinol. The risk of fracture was further increased with the highest quintile, the highest 20% for serum retinol. Men with retinols in the 99th percentile had an overall risk of fracture that exceeded the risk of among men with lower levels by a factor of 7. Note they didn't distinguish between synthetic and natural. Why do the researchers keep not distinguishing? Don't they know that the natural health community has figured out that natural vitamin A is magically completely different than synthetic vitamin A? Why can't these scientists figure it out? Because there's no difference. Here's another paper, retinol intake and bone mineral density in the elderly, the Rancho Bernardo study. At the femoral neck. So again, the hip bone that they talk about with osteoporosis, the femur, for every unit increase in log retinol intake, supplement users had 0.02 grams per centimeter squared lower bone mineral density and 0.23% greater annual bone loss. And non-users had 0.02 grams per centimeter squared greater BMD and 0.22% greater bone retention. So here's the thing. So somebody might say, but that's showing that synthetic is different than natural. No, the supplement users had their diet plus a supplement, whereas the non-supplement users didn't have the supplement. Do you understand? It's just additive. It's not either or. However, among supplement users, retinol from dietary and supplement sources had a similar association with bone mineral density, suggesting total intake is more important than source. Let me read that little last part again. Suggesting total intake of vitamin A is more important than source. In both sexes, increasing retinol became negatively associated with skeletal health at intakes not far beyond the RDA. Intakes reached predominantly by supplement users. So yes, of course, it's easier to get to a higher vitamin A intake with the supplement use. This study suggests there's a delicate balance between ensuring that the elderly consume sufficient vitamin A and simultaneously cautioning against excessive retinol supplementation. Another one, high serum retinol is a relevant contributor to low bone mineral density in postmenopausal women. I'm just going to read the last little line here. It is concluded that elevated serum retinol levels are associated with an increased risk of low bone mass and thus with osteoporotic fractures. Therefore, osteoporosis risk assessment should include quantification of serum metabolite of vitamin A. How many more studies? I got 2 more studies here. I'm going to skip that. I'm done on that one. So let's just say, what about kids? Like, what if we could show that vitamin A decreased bone density in kids, not just old ladies? Well, if excess of vitamin A would cause bone loss, then restricting vitamin A, who does that? Oh, I do. Restricting vitamin A might increase bone mass. So here's the paper. Restricting vitamin A intake. Let me put this link in there. I'm going to start doing super chats so I can keep up with all these questions, y'all. This is great. I mean, I'm glad y'all are here. I'm not going to be able to get to all these questions. If you have questions that you really want answered, there's the inner circle on inside the Love Your Liver program, where weekly I take questions for about an hour and a half. And this is where we can get into more controversial topics, and I don't have to worry about censorship and stuff like that. So if you really want to get your questions answered, that's where you want to go. It is paid, so it's inside the network. It is a paid service, but there's no way I can get to all these questions, which is awesome. That was always the goal, was to have so many questions I couldn't get to them all. But so here's the paper. Restricting vitamin A intake increases bone formation in Zambian children with high liver stores of vitamin. They mean vitamin A. Conclusion: reduction of dietary preformed vitamin A in Zambian children. Wait. What did they reduce? Reduction of dietary preformed vitamin A? Wait, so they mean supplements? No. Oh no, they mean diet in food. Oh, reduction of dietary preformed vitamin A in Zambian children for 4 months improved bone formation. Chronic consumption of preformed vitamin A caused hypervitaminosis A and may impair bone formation. In children, this could be associated with failure to accrue optimal peak bone mass. Now this woman had said she'd been doing her weight training and taking her supplements, her calcium, vitamin D, fish oil, and B vitamins. I would never have anyone take extra calcium unless it was a very, very specific situation. I would never have anyone take vitamin D. I highly suggest on this channel you go watch my vitamin D is a poison video, please. Learn about how vitamin D supplements were researched as a genocidal tool in South Africa, and how vitamin D is sold as rat poison tablets. So go watch that video. You need to watch that video. You need to watch it for your family so you can share it with them. Fish oil is garbage. B vitamins are only very specifically used in very specific situations. If you need mega doses or orthomolecular doses of B vitamins to keep some problem at bay, it means you are poisoned in a very specific way, and the different B vitamins act on different poisons. So she was doing weight training. It wasn't helping. Oh, here's a paper. Vitamin A decreases the anabolic bone response to mechanical loading by suppressing bone formation. I'm just going to skip ahead to the bottom. In summary, a clinically relevant dose of vitamin A suppresses the loading-induced gain of bone mass by decreasing bone formation. These observations may have implications for regulation of bone mass caused by physical activity and the risk of osteoporosis in humans. And as I said there's the saying in health and fitness, which is, or in fitness especially, where you can't out-train a bad diet. You can't outrun the poison's effect on your bones either. We got the testimonial, we got the research. What else do we need? So we got those links. Those are on my research forum. Now, so what does vitamin A cause in the body? It causes liver injury, aka cholestasis. It causes leaky liver ducts, leaky liver cells, leaky liver bile ducts inside the liver. That's intrahepatic cholestasis. It causes extrahepatic cholestasis, which is bile getting, slowly leaving your gallbladder, causing gallstones. It causes bile to go up into your stomach, the symptoms I talked about earlier. It causes bile to go the wrong way in the bile ducts, and then you can get leaky big bile ducts. And then it goes into your small intestine, where it can then cause changes to your gut biome, where then the gut bacteria start making more toxic bile acids, called secondary bile acids. And then it also causes leaky gut. And I've been over all this research in these live streams before. We do have summaries on all the live streams, so if you want to look through them, you can look for where I talk about leaky gut. So then the bile escapes what I call the bile pathway, the proper bile pathway, and then it goes into your bloodstream. You should have 0 bile acids in your blood. Bile should not be in your blood. But pretty much everybody with any type of chronic health issue has bile in their blood. So if I say that vitamin A, as one of the many things, so like your high-fat keto diet is causing you cholestasis. That's how they cause it in mice, if you didn't know. Your high fructose diet, whether it's from real fruit or from sugars, is causing you cholestasis. Your messed up gut biome, you may be messing it up more by taking the wrong probiotic for you, even though everybody says that that's the one you should take. No, there's at least 3 different gut biome setups. And if you take the wrong thing for your gut biome, you're going to make your problem worse. Zinc deficiency will cause cholestasis. Copper toxicity will cause cholestasis. Manganese toxicity will cause cholestasis. Molybdenum deficiency will cause cholestasis. Selenium deficiency will cause cholestasis. Probably magnesium deficiency will too, but I haven't looked that up. Calcium excess will cause cholestasis. What causes calcium excess, Dr. Smith? Vitamin D supplements and vitamin A toxicity. And taking too many calcium pills. One thing you should know is that the early research on dairy was done by the Rockefellers, and they were looking to find things in milk that they could then sell to people as being necessary and good for them. Do you know that they did the same thing for soy a while back? Do you ever remember the soy fad? And how men today, especially men and women, are still destroyed today from the soy fad and still destroying themselves? The Rockefellers did that a long time ago with milk already. And what did they find in milk that supposedly we need so much of? Vitamin A, calcium, vitamin D. What do I not put people on? Oh, is it calcium, vitamin A, and vitamin D? Do I have people use sunlight and tanning lamps if they need to where they live? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do I have them eat vitamin D on purpose? Absolutely not. There's a big difference. So anyway, so if all these things are connected, so I guess you could call my diet the anti-Rockefeller and anti-Bill Gates diet. That's the way we should start referring to it. I do the anti-Rockefeller and the anti-Bill Gates diet. So then let's get into, so if I say vitamin A causes cholestasis and all these other things cause cholestasis, and cholestasis is the state of having bile in your blood when you should have 0, we could probably expect that there's going to be a connection between cholestasis, bile in the blood, and osteoporosis. So I found a couple papers here. It's not very hard. It took me like a couple minutes of searching. When you know what to look for, it's not hard to find. So metabolomic profiles associated with bone mineral density in U.S. Caucasian women. Wait, let me find it. I have my quote, but then here we go. Here's the quote. In addition, abnormal bile acid turnover has been linked to osteoporosis in postmenopausal women. Our study found that 3 bile acids, cholic acid, UDCA, and TUDCA, everybody's favorite bear bile extract, it's just taurine bound to UDCA, in human serum were associated with bone mineral density, further supporting the potentially important role of bile acids in bone health. I'm going to tell you that if you see anything in the literature that says more bile acids in the blood is a good thing, or I'm sorry, less bile acids in the blood is a good thing, what they're missing, there's like 55 different bile acids. There's 55 different bile acids at least. And they're going to do studies where they measure 2 of them. And then say, oh, we found that this level was a little higher, a little lower, and that obviously means it's better. You know, don't be fooled. So we got that one. So let's just, I think I posted that one. Yep. So now let's go into another one. Deoxycholic acid, a metabolite of circulating bile acids and coronary artery vascular calcification in chronic kidney disease. Wait. I just want to make sure. We're going to connect all of this. You should not have bile in your blood. And they're about to say that DCA, deoxycholic acid, is now connected to atherosclerosis, calcification of your arteries, and chronic kidney disease. Do you know where your bile in your blood goes if your liver can't handle it, if you can't get rid of it through your poop? The next place it goes is your kidneys. Do you know what vitamin A does inside your blood? It raises calcium. Where would the calcium come from to calcify your arteries with? The blood? Oh, that's crazy. So here we go. They just tie it all together in the background here. This may be all I'm about to read. Background: vascular calcification is common among patients with chronic kidney disease, and it is associated with all-cause and cardiovascular disease mortality. Deoxycholic acid, DCA, a metabolite of circulating bile acids. That means it's a secondary bile acid, folks, that I told you if your messed up gut biome is making more of, you're going to be even worse off. Continuing, is elevated in chronic kidney disease and induces vascular mineralization and osteogenic differentiation in animal models. Vascular mineralization means that you're calcifying your arteries. Increased bile acid, calcification of the arteries, heart disease, chronic kidney disease. Weird that they're all connected. Oh, here from the results. High serum deoxycholic acid levels were significantly correlated with greater baseline coronary artery calcification. You know that ultrasound, that score that they give you, the coronary artery calcification. People will try to say that that's like how much cholesterol you have in your arteries. No, they call it coronary artery calcification for a reason. And yet the Rockefeller-based science is having us take calcium and vitamin D and vitamin A. Isn't that a weird coincidence? And lower baseline bone mineral density. More deoxycholic acid in the blood, more coronary artery calcification, and lower bone mineral density. And yet we've got all these people out here going, oh, you take your vitamin D3 and just take vitamin K2 with it and it'll prevent everything. No, you're wrong. The poison always wins. The poison always wins. I just saw a person yesterday on their hair test. On a hair test, I want calcium around a 40. This person had been taking vitamin D with vitamin K. Oh, shouldn't that prevent all the problems? No, his calcium on the hair test was 313. First question I asked him, have you been taking vitamin D? He said, yeah, but I stopped it about 4 months ago. The cool thing about the hair test is it shows about 6 months worth of your mineral history. And vitamin D is a fat-soluble molecule, so it gets stored in your liver and body fat, and it doesn't just go away. I just saw an author who I liked the other day. In his book, I read that he lives in Canada, and he was taking 16,000 units of vitamin D3 a day. 16,000 units of vitamin D a day. I feel bad because if he doesn't find out about my work, he's probably going to kill himself. And I don't mean that I want him to live. I will probably send him my video on vitamin D as a poison and hope and pray that he watches it. I don't know. Did I post this one? Here, let me post this one. Oh, I didn't. I think I forgot. Here, let me get the other one, metabolomics. I thought I posted this one. Here we go. That one. And then we'll put in the DCA. Oh, here we go. Bone disease in infants and children with hepatobiliary disease. Wait, what does hepato mean, Dr. Smith? It means liver. What does biliary mean, Dr. Smith? Bile duct. Oh, let's read that again then. Bone disease in infants and children with hepatobiliary disease, liver and bile duct disease. So basically, they show here that bile duct problems and liver problems are connected to lower bone mineral density in children. Oh, wait, so now we have in children, we have restricting vitamin A helped their bone density, and now we have liver and bile disease connected diseases also causing lowered bone mineral density. Wow, these connections, it's like these must have all been hidden from us, right? And no, I'm not saying I found them earlier. I just looked for these today. This is how it's all right there in our face, folks. We just didn't know where to look. So then the last thing I wanted to go over, lactoferrin, bovine from cows, from milk, fresh milk. This stuff is. The other stuff on the market is from whey, which has been shown in the research to not be as good. Let's go over lactoferrin. What does lactoferrin do? Lactoferrin fixes the bile ducts. Lactoferrin can help increase both bile production, and it helps to speed up aldehyde dehydrogenase, which is a key enzyme in your detox pathway for vitamin A and for other aldehydes, including ethanol or alcohol and methanol, which turns into formaldehyde. It's very important in getting rid of aldehydes. I've been doing some research on them lately. I mean, now there's entire aldehyde papers connecting it to autism. There's entire aldehyde papers connecting it to Parkinson's. I could go into pretty much any disease and find there's a connection to aldehyde dehydrogenase. Okay. So lactoferrin is known to fix the bile ducts. It's known to help get rid of toxic copper. It's known to help get rid of toxic iron, or if you have iron deficiency anemia, it's known to help with that. It also helps fix osteoporosis. Coincidence? Here's the paper. Orally administered lactoferrin preserves bone mass and microarchitecture in ovary-ectomized rats. So they're kind of trying to mimic menopausal women. No ovary function. Their ovaries are gone. Lactoferrin preserved bone mass and the microarchitecture of the bone in forced postmenopausal rats. Let me see. Did they do bovine? Yeah, bovine. Wait. Well, they usually do bovine. They just say lactoferrin. Anyway, here's another paper, lactoferrin, a novel bone growth factor. That's a review paper. So there will be a bunch of studies in there. See if they have a good... We conclude that lactoferrin may have a physiological role in bone growth and healing and a potential therapeutic role as an anabolic factor in osteoporosis. And they go through a bunch of other studies that connect that. And then we go into lactoferrin ameliorates or makes better. Lactoferrin ameliorates aging suppressed osteogenesis via IGF-1 signaling. So, lactoferrin helps make better or reduce the aging suppressed osteogenesis. They're basically saying that people are, as they get older, they're not making bone as well. And they're saying aging suppresses the ability to make bone. I'm going to say that what osteoporosis is, folks, is mostly the accumulation of toxins over decades, which then causes the liver injury, the cholestasis, which then causes bile, and bile contains vitamin A to go into the blood. And this is what is destroying your bones. Lactoferrin makes it better. So, within those 9 papers, 1 testimonial, 9 papers. Well, more than 9 papers. Did we just connect all of that stuff? Maybe this is why they call me the nutrition detective. I just go and I find the clues that are already there and I just put them together. All of these chronic diseases are connected to the same process. Remember on an older live stream, we went over how diabetes had twice as much bile in its blood as the controls. I was just looking into hair loss the other day. All the people with hair loss had higher aldehydes in their blood. I'm going to tell you that the bile problems and the ALDH problems are absolutely connected. And here's how you guys are going to make mistakes. Those of you who don't want to get on my program, which is still, you better get on it because we're changing to a subscription model soon. So if you want to get the grandfathered in one price lifetime access, you should go do it now. If you're going to get it for your family, go do it now. If you don't want to be on a monthly subscription, we're going to be changing that very soon. People are going to hear what I say and they're going to say, oh, I just need to go and make more bile. Oh, you're going to hate that if you don't know what you're doing. People in the comments who are on the program, if you want to give them a heads up about why they don't want to do that, why that may not be the best option for them, especially the sicker they are. And then they're going to go and also look in the research to find things that speed up ALDH. You want to know the things that speed up ALDH in the short-term research the most? Taking in more aldehydes. Oh, I'm going to go look at studies and I see that alcohol in some studies increases ALDH. Okay, bizarro world where we're going to assume that alcohol is actually good for us in some way. It's not, but does it speed up ALDH? Yes, because your body's trying to get rid of the aldehydes you just took in. So, analyzing all this research for what things are actually speeding up ALDH in a good way, mostly we speed up ALDH by taking out the things that slow it down. Want to know one of the biggest things that slows down ALDH? Fructose. But fruit, I just saw a carnivore, a big name, nose to tail carnivore guy talking on fruit. And he said, if your doctor thinks fruit is bad for you, then they're a clown. And I was like, go look at fruitarians. That's not a pretty picture. Now everybody in the carnivore world who has finally come to the realization that their diet as it is, the nose to tail carnivore, is a disaster. Now they're all incorporating fruit and honey. Fatty liver was already on its way, and now it's doubly on its way. And they may feel better at the start. Driving yourself further into a disease can help people feel better at the start. Just like a junkie who stops taking their drug can take their drug again and feel better for a bit. And then they feel worse. It's the same mechanism everywhere. Poisoning yourself feels good for a short period of time, and then it feels worse once that effect wears off. This is not new. People can do it with foods. People can do it with drugs. People can do it with supplements. So I'm ready to do the questions now. There's plenty here. You guys, I mean, you can post more questions, but I'm not going to get to them because there's so many here. And I used up 40 minutes of this going over the true cause of osteoporosis. So Janelle asks, what is acceptable as a beverage if tea, coffee, milk, and juice aren't okay? There's a common ingredient in all of those drinks. It's called water. I mean, that's not to be, facetious. Water. What am I drinking? Well, it's water with some of my most recent experiment in it. But there's no calories in it, and there's definitely no sweeteners in what I'm using. One of the things I do use, and the people in the obsessed with vitamin A levels crowd, which I'm not obsessed anymore with that. That's not many people have done the vitamin A detox and they're doing crazy dumb diets on it. Like people could do, I mean, all muscle meat carnivore is a short-term fix. It's not a long-term fix. So people could do an all muscle meat carnivore diet and feel better because it is a lower vitamin A diet. But long-term, we want to expand what they can eat. We weren't given claws. We don't have all sharp teeth. We have molars. We have salivary amylase. We're designed to do both. Can we get away with doing a vegan diet or an all muscle meat carnivore diet for a good long while. Certain people can. You put me on a vegan diet, I'm a disaster. Just vegetarian was a disaster for me. And I don't think I'd do very well on an all muscle meat diet for very long. But you can do low vitamin A diets. Like in the early beginning, Grant Generou and I were chatting, and we were talking about people doing stupid vitamin A detox diets. Could you do white flour and white sugar as most of your food and do a low vitamin A diet? Yes. Is there protein in that? Yes. There's not a whole lot of fat, but that's not much of an issue because people are eating plant foods. That's a whole nother topic. But could they do that? Sure. Is anybody going to say that that's a healthy diet just because it's low in vitamin A? No, nobody's going to say that. Well, they could add some MCTs or coconut oil to it. I'm going to do a diet of collagen powder and white sugar and MCTs. And it's a low vitamin A diet. Okay, folks, MCTs and collagen powder are the white sugar of fats and proteins. Don't demonize processed foods and then shove other processed foods that are just a different macronutrient down your cake hole, okay? And then act superior. Don't do that. I got over the whole thing of like needing to drink other things. What did God give us to drink, really? God gave us water. I do use some of the let me put the link. Let me find the link. I'll put the link in of what I do drink. Now, inside the network, I talk about asparagus. Somebody's going to say, asparagus has vitamins, it has carotenoids, and it has lutein and oxalates. If you don't tolerate it, don't eat it. Come on. I wanted... Here we go. I will have it in just a second. So once you get the right one, that's not what I hit at all. Okay, here we go. This is cheese as in CHI' Enterprise organic asparagus extract. I have one of these in the morning most days. It is juiced organic asparagus that has then been dried. Now, if you didn't know about drying and carotenoids, drying things does destroy a lot of the carotenoids. Does it destroy all of them? Probably not. Do I ever tell people that there is such a thing as a zero vitamin A diet? No, because there isn't. And even Grant Generou has said so. So for all of you out there who are thinking that meat has no vitamin A in it, you're wrong. That has never been true. And even if they give you these, you go online and you Google how much vitamin A is in a steak and it says 0, it's not 0. There's carotenoids in it. You don't get away from it. So just give that up. Just think of it as minimizing, absolutely minimizing. And I feel really good on asparagus. And asparagus is very high in B1. Do you know what B1 does? It binds to aldehydes. Oh, that's important. I do have some theories on what asparagus does to excess sulfur in the body as well. Does asparagus contain some sulfur? Yeah. What do you think you're smelling when you pee out asparagus pee? So, water. Maybe that asparagus extract if you're so inclined. That's about it. One of the big things I had to do when I wanted to drop some of the dad bod was finally admit to myself, just drink water. Stop drinking anything else. And that's part of it. So let me get back to here. This question comes up a lot. Everybody wants, Dr. Smith, what do you eat in a day? Can you give us some examples? Thanks. This is like, no offense, this is like the most tiresome question I get. Things I might eat. Overnight oats soaked in water, maybe with a tablespoon of honey in it, organic, raw honey. But I don't do that much anymore because I don't want the sugar. I might cut up an apple and put it in there instead. I might get whole grain, whole wheat and rye sourdough bread. They have it at Whole Foods. It's called Prussian rye. Super heavy bread, super good, sourdough'd rye and whole wheat. And I might have some toast with that. Oh my God, butter. Yeah, in my program, I talk about an allotment of butter a day, and I use less than that. That if people want to do it, they can. And people are still getting better without obsessing over every IU of vitamin A. You just follow principles. That's the key thing about the difference between what we do here in my program and a protocol. We have principles. Principles are for intelligent people. Protocols are for people who can't think for themselves. I might make a grass-fed hamburger patty, and the pieces of sourdough rye are like this big. So I break that in half and I have a hamburger on it. I might have meat and, some of the vegetables that I think are kind of okay on the vitamin A detox diet. I might have very well peeled zucchini. I might have peeled cucumbers. I might have green beans. I might have some asparagus. And I can tell you my vitamin A on my next blood test will be deficient. Those of you in the early stages of this, those of you who are sicker, those of you who are sensitive to lutein, which is becoming a bigger thing for certain people than they realize, you may not be able to be this, if you want to call it, loose with the diet. So that's why, I tell you this stuff, and people on here are going to go on other forums and they're going to say, Dr. Smith said to eat this. Dr. Smith does this. This must be the perfect diet. No, I never said I'm perfect. This is like people who think that like looking at a football coach, the football coach should be able to play football and look like his football players. The people with the knowledge are not always the ones doing everything with it that they could. I know what I need to do. And when I realize that there's things that I'm not doing that I need to do better, I fix that. I'm doing very well with what I'm doing right now. I am in better shape physically than I have ever been in my life. I'm super excited to do a testosterone test soon. Because I'm not trying to I don't try to boost testosterone. I don't need to. Most of the things we talk about that are poisons are ruining your hormones. Stop doing it, and the problems slowly go away. So anyway, those are some of the things that I eat. I tend to be fairly repetitive, but I'm not a Grant Genereux. I'm not going to eat beef or bison and black beans and brown or white rice every day, day in, day out he's been doing it for 7 years now. I'm never going to do that. For the people who can do that, that's amazing. Or the people on the on Grant's forum who went and did just beef and white rice only. And they've done it for years and they're fine. Where people come to me and they're like, your diet is deficient in these vitamins. And I go, well, just go look at these guys. Beef and rice for like 2 or 3 years straight. Where's their massive nutrient deficiencies? Oh, what you're telling me is their type 1 diabetes went away. Oh, wait, that must be their nutrient deficiency somehow showing up. Do I want to eat people to eat white rice every day? No, I don't think that's, if you're out there, so this is where principles, if you're out there and you've dug yourself into a hole, however you got there, and the only thing you can eat is white rice, or white rice and maybe some meat, and that's like all you tolerate. And if you were to ask me, what should I do? I want to eat these other foods. I'd say right now you need to stick with that because that's what you tolerate. Over time, we want to expand the diet, and we should be able to, but we got to get you out of this hole first. There is one guy who did the white rice, and he thinks now he either has a B1 deficiency or arsenic toxicity. I just did a whole big video update in my program the other day about rice and arsenic, talking about the realities of it, talking about ways to prepare the rice to make it less arsenic, where to buy the rice so there's less arsenic. Arsenic is a real reality in rice. Arsenic does, let me see if I can find it. Arsenic does store in your liver. Let me see if I have the paper. Oh no, I know where it is. This is from a paper I'm writing on the absolute shit show that is organ meats. So here we go. The present study evaluated arsenic accumulation and its speciation in selected organs of Wistar rats after 28-day repeated oral administrations of polished or unpolished rice and their control arsenic compounds, sodium arsenite or dimethyl arsenic acid, DMA. In all groups, total arsenic concentrations were highest in kidney, followed by liver, and the predominant arsenic form in these organs was DMA. You store toxic metals in your liver. It means that blood levels are not always accurate, which can mean that also because the hair levels are based on blood levels, the hair levels may not be showing how much you have stored in your liver. Because think about this. If you store it in your liver and it's not coming out because your body's saying it's not safe to let this out yet, then it's not in your blood. If it's not in your blood for 6 months, it's not in your hair. Doesn't mean it's not there. I saw a guy who lived in Pakistan. I saw his arsenic. His first test was, I think these are the right units, 0.05. Sometimes I get the decimals on the toxic metals wrong because there's like so many different decimals. I think it was 0.05. It was either 0.005 or 0.05. Either way, the next test, it went up by 11 times to either 0.55 or 0.055. It went up by 11 times doing the mineral program. Was I giving him arsenic? No. What's the only way that it could have gone up that much all of a sudden? Either he got arsenic in his hair, which was unlikely, or we got the arsenic out of his liver. And his daughter told me that he was happier. He was exercising again. He was basically getting back to his old self. So do we think it was a detox then? Probably. Is there an arsenic problem in Pakistan? That's easy to find in the research. So, can people do a low vitamin A diet with you've been duped on, just remember who benefits from telling everybody that we need all these vitamins. The supplement industry. And the Rockefeller vitamin cabal. Most of your vitamins are made by pharmaceutical companies. They used to say it was 6 pharmaceutical companies made almost every raw material for supplements in the world. It's probably a little different now because some individual entrepreneurs are doing it, but most of the vitamins are made by the same companies that are making the pharmaceuticals. And if you think they're right on one side and they're wrong on the other, I'm going to say you're probably not right. Moving on. Lectins seem to cause me hip pain while sleeping at night. It's such a random symptom. Why does this happen? Lectin sensitivity is a downstream effect of leaky gut. You're leaking bile acids into your blood. You're leaking lectins into your blood. Lectins have always been in food. Lectins didn't just become a problem, or they didn't just sprout up now. No pun intended. Lectins have always been there. Why haven't people been sensitive to them before? Because they weren't as poisoned as they are today. They didn't have as toxic a bile damaging everything it touches. So, and it's not the lectins causing the leaky gut. The lectins get through the leaky gut into your bloodstream just like the bile does, but the bile causes the leaky gut. If you fix your toxic bile problem, the lectin problems will go away. Next question. Nodes asks, what's the role of appendix in the vitamin A detox pathway? It's very close to the ileum where the bile gets absorbed or sent back for recycling. I have no idea. I haven't looked into that. The appendix is probably a storehouse for probiotics to come out when various things in nature would damage our gut biome. It's kind of like a seed storage, if you will, a seed storage of probiotics. That's the role of the appendix, in my opinion, as far as I know. I can't see how the appendix, since I don't know how to affect the appendix, I can't see how the appendix is going to change anything I do. That's pretty simple. Free Michigan says, I live in the goiter belt where there's apparently no iodine in the soil. Do I need to supplement iodine? I eat a lot of local food, but my grains and beans and other food comes from other places. Iodine is such a disinfo topic. Humans need, in my opinion, very little iodine. Humans who are taking massive amounts of iodine and feeling benefit from it, especially potassium iodine, are poisoning themselves and getting the benefit of feeling the fact that they poisoned themselves. Remember, if you destroy your thyroid and you blow open thyroid cells, you spill out thyroid hormone into your blood and you get a rise in your thyroid hormone levels. Oh, I feel better. It's not helping. It's actually destroying your thyroid, but you're getting a buzz, a high off of the destroyed thyroid cells. Let me talk about another example of this that should be very clear. Boron. So there was a study in Iraq or Iran, I forget which one it was, where they gave young men 10 milligrams of boron a day or 6 milligrams of boron a day? I don't remember. It was one of the two for 10 days. And they saw something like, was it a 50% or maybe even 100% increase in their testosterone levels. As a young man, I was like, ooh, this is cool. I want to do this, right? But then if you look at the long-term studies on boron toxicity in mice and rats, whether they look at boric acid or whether they look at sodium borate, the long-term effects of boron compounds is that they cause infertility. Do you see the connection now? You take a mega dose of boron and it starts destroying your testicular cells, men, which then spills out testosterone into your system for a short time. 10 days was that study. And long term, after it destroys your testicles enough, there's not enough blowing out the testosterone that your testosterone levels start going down. And then eventually you may become infertile. So iodine, you need the study after study shows that in autoimmune thyroid, which is supposedly way underreported in women, that iodine will aggravate the autoimmune thyroid. Do we need some? Yes. We had a woman from the same family from Pakistan. If you go and you look up Pakistan, they have a very bad iodine deficiency there. This woman, after talking to me, used a little bit of iodine. And she felt a lot better very quickly. And now she's off of it and still feeling good and continuing to improve. We need very little iodine. We're very good at recycling it. So if somebody's super, super deficient, then they might benefit from some. Let me find the forum. I have an article on here about how iodine connects to vitamin A. Let's see. Oh yeah, vitamin A screws up iodine metabolism. So that's this article. So as we get the vitamin A toxicity out, we stop screwing up our iodine metabolism so we don't have to put as much in. Now, I want people to think that it's possible that maybe certain things that they were doing in the middle of this country at certain points in the last century or two were very toxic, and that could be what caused this supposedly goiter belt. I always ask people, how did the folks in the covered wagons crossing the country who didn't ever go to another coast, how did their thyroids survive? They weren't eating seaweeds and they weren't drinking milk from cows that were fed seaweed, which is how cows get their iodine. How did they survive? Why didn't they take iodine supplements? Poison themselves with potassium iodide. So we got to ask these questions. Is it likely that humans need a small bit of iodine, enough to start making their hormones? And if they can maintain that iodine, they're very good at recycling it. They may not need much from their diet on a long-term basis. Okay. GA Steph says, nice setup. Sound is great. Thank you. For those of you on the network, you can thank Tyler for the mic setup information. We got some fun things here. This is like called, this was a medicine horse, they called it. My kids gave me that. Some of you will recognize the red stapler. One of my favorite movies. Might have a little lactoferrin back there. Anyway, it's fun. This is so much, the office feels so much better than it used to. So question from Fully Human. Dr. Smith, I heard you say you just beat the virus of concern right now. How did you know you had it? Did you get tested? Are the tests safe and reliable? What I had was, so I'm getting into, there's some other researchers who are challenging the whole narrative of, so I know there's people out there with the germ theory and they don't exist and germ theory is garbage. And I start going, well, okay, so if germ theory is garbage, what are bacteria then? Do you believe in bacteria? And they're like, yeah, bacteria, the biome, all that. And I go, but aren't they germs too? At what level? If they want to say they don't like viruses and leave it at that, that's fine. But to say germ theory is complete bunk and then believe in parasites and bacteria, they're just arbitrarily deciding that at one point things are small enough to affect us, and at another point they're real, but they're not germs. I don't get it. Anyway, what I had was a flu of some sort. If you've read Anthony Mawson's papers on vitamin A and vitamin D and influenza, and Anthony Mawson's theoretical paper on the virus and its connection to retinoids, which are vitamin A compounds, and cholestasis, you start to realize that whatever this virus is doing, how it is causing people to suffer, because people are catching it and they are suffering. And this was the most kind of long duration, kind of intense flu I've ever had. So there's definitely something to it. I love that people are like, it doesn't exist. And then they're like, yeah, my mom got something. Well, what did she get? Right? What it is it's a massive prolonged bile dump. That's what's causing the symptoms. Why do we see more morbidity with obese people? Obese people have cholestasis and they've stored more toxins. So when they dump it, they dump more toxins. Anthony Mawson wrote about how it's connected to dumping vitamin A. Well, if you haven't seen my video on obesity connected to vitamin A on this channel, you should watch it. So then the people with multiple comorbidities, as they say, multiple diseases going on at once, the more diseases you have, the more toxic you are and the more nutrient deficient you are. So if and when those people do a massive prolonged bile dump, they're going to get sicker. Should be straightforward. They're more toxic. They have more cholestasis. That's why they have more diseases. So when you trigger a massive prolonged bile dump, more of it is going back into your blood and it's more toxic. So it causes more damage. My stuff, I had some body aches. I had some minor feverish symptoms. I'm not like the normal guy who whines about being sick. I'm pretty stoic when I'm sick. But I had the stiffness and the body aches and a little bit of feverish stuff. The worst part for me was like the last week was just straight up nausea. It was horrible. I would drink a sip of water and I get nausea. I lost about 8 pounds in 2 weeks because I wasn't eating very much because nausea sucks. I totally get like morning sickness for the ladies now. I couldn't empathize before, and now I totally can. But what causes that? Bile in the stomach. What am I saying the virus does? Massive prolonged bile dump. Where does the bile go for each person? Depends on the person. Some people, it goes into their bloodstream and it goes and attacks their lungs. Some people, it goes and they get diarrhea. Some people, it goes and it causes them fever. Let's look up bilious fever. Fever caused by bile in the blood. There's more recent research talking about that too. So body aches and pains. Gosh, what do we store in our liver? Vitamin A, vitamin D, toxic metals, bile acids. Oh, you think that going into your blood could make you feel stiff and achy and sucky? Yeah. So there are some researchers out there. I saw a video the other day who are suing the government because in every case of the swab test that they tested after the fact, all they found was what they called the influenza A and the influenza B in it. They never found the big C in it in any test. And they have now asked the CDC for copies of this supposed scary virus. And the CDC will not provide them a copy of it. So all they ever found was influenza A and influenza B. Did you notice how the last year, some of you have paid attention to this research, where the flu disappeared? The flu completely disappeared. Now, here's the interesting thing. Some people on those home tests have put things on them like orange juice. There was the guy in Africa, the president, who put pawpaw melon, which is kind of similar to mango from what I've read. Either papaya or mango, I forget. It doesn't matter. They're both yellowish, orangish, both full of vitamin A. And then they also tested, I didn't look into it deeply, but they said they tested goat on the test. I don't know what they mean by goat. But what I can tell you is that goat milk is extremely high in vitamin A. So people have tested these tests with orange juice, very high in carotenoids. Carotenoids break down into retinaldehyde. Pawpaw melon, which is kind of similar to either papaya or mango, I don't know. And goat, which is extremely high in vitamin A in its milk. And they all tested positive. Anthony Mawson wrote a paper about how the symptoms of this are probably related to an excess of retinoids being dumped from the liver in a massive bile dump. Vitamin A causes cholestasis. Cholestasis means bile goes back into the blood. And then when they test your fluids, let's just look. I have shown that I found the research on it about vitamin A showing up in nearly every body fluid. Where are they testing bodily fluids for this? Oh, your nose? There it is. We have people who sweat yellow in their bed. They have so much vitamin A and bile coming out. What are the colors of bile? Bile, one of the places bile shows up is yellow. But also vitamin A is all pretty much yellowish, orangish, even reddish, lycopene. So weird that those tests are showing responses to vitamin A compounds. Basically, every single symptom of the virus can be shown in the literature to be a symptom of retinoic acid excess. When people took pharmaceutical retinoic acids, the symptoms they got from taking them were the same as what we're talking about, down to the lung effects too. So, So was my liver empty at this point? No. So did I get some symptoms? Yeah. I worked the entire time. I didn't take a single day off. It didn't hit me that bad. Whatever it was. After it was done, within a couple of days of me starting to feel better, I ordered myself some lab tests, and I went to the LabCorp by me, and I had the I think it was the spike protein antibody test and the capsid antibody test. The two antibodies I could find in the LabCorp repertoire. And I came up with like a 72 on the spike protein antibody test. I'm never putting any of those things up my nose. No way, ever, never, ever. If you're going to take something out of me, you're going to take something out of me and you're going to keep it. I don't want it back. I don't do plasma where they take your blood out, spin it, add a anticoagulant to it, run it through new plastic tubing, and then put that blood back into you, put the red blood cells back into you with an anticoagulant added. No way. Don't let them take stuff out of you and put them back in. Don't let them stick things up into your mucous membranes. So anyway, that's my story. I tell people that when people are doing relatively well before, and let me give you an idea of what is happening with this bile dump. So I liken the acute phase of this virus to like a giant rainfall. Like it's like you're in your town, that's your body. Rain clouds come in. You have a massive rainstorm that is causing floods. The floods are this is when they're causing the most damage, right? This is when they're the strongest. This is when the symptoms are the strongest. This is when, during the floods, is when you could die. Right? That's the most dangerous time. You go out in the floods, you drive your car through a flooded wash, especially here in Tucson, like people die because they can't wait. So this bile dump could be intense enough, this flood could be intense enough to kill people. But wasn't that happening before? Yeah, people die from the flu. So during the acute phase, you could die. It could be very, very bad. Then once the rains stop and the water has calmed down, what are you left with? You're left with the flood damage. You're left with the flood damage in the liver cells. You're left with the flood damage in the little bile ducts inside the liver. You're left with the flood damage in the big bile ducts. You're left with the flood damage in your gut. You're left with the flood damage wherever that bile went around your system and caused you symptoms in your body, whether it was the skin or the kidneys or the brain or the heart or the lungs. So the flood damage is now left. Okay. For the people who weren't too bad off before this happens to them, if they did not suppress it with quines and mectins and otidines and vitamin D3 and quercetin and all of these things that suppress ALDH and thus suppress bile production, just because they didn't want to be sick. See, I didn't use any of those. I didn't suppress it at all. I got rid of all of that bile. Nasty, nasty bile that I dumped that I would eventually get rid of. And that's why people get better suddenly. The bile dump has calmed down. The rain has stopped. The water's going away. And now you're just left with the flood damage. How much flood damage do you have? How toxic were you? I feel better than I did before after my experience with the virus. Because I got rid, and I have another friend who is just so happens to be the husband of a chiropractor, so he's generally trying to do a healthy lifestyle. He says he feels better after his too. Now, then there's the people who say long. I have the long virus. Let me show you what the long virus is. It's flood damage. Let's go into cholangiopathy after severe virus, after the severe big C. Clinical features and prognostic implications. You know what cholangiopathy is? Damage to the bile ducts. Severe bile duct damage after the big C. What are we talking about here? What would cause more leakage after you're done with it? The flood damage, the leakage. This is the long big C. What do we got to do to fix it? Fix the bile ducts, fix the damage. Gosh, what is something in the literature that's been shown to fix that? Avoiding vitamin A would be another step. Not taking vitamin D3 would be another step. Get yours from sunlight and UVB. Next week, I'll probably have a link to some sun lamps for people who live in places where you can't get sun. And here's an important thing to remember, folks. Just because humans can live where there's not good sunlight year-round doesn't mean you should live there. We weren't given snowshoes for feet. We're not exactly hairy. Can you figure out how to heat a place so you can live there? Yes. Can people live there? Yes. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I was reading a survival book to make sure I'm prepared for whatever's coming, and he was talking about most deaths from exposure in the wilderness happen between 30 degrees Fahrenheit and 50 degrees Fahrenheit. That's basically freezing up to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. If that is what kills most people from exposure out in the wilderness, and you're living somewhere where it routinely hits below freezing, you're just basically taking your life in your hands every day and hoping you don't freeze to death. I don't need that in my life. So, I think that is... So, but that was the test I got. I got a blood test. That is the test. And so if any of you out there, let's say you wanted to show that you have the so-called natural immunity. I don't know how anybody could be immune to bile dumping. If I could figure out how to make people immune to bile dumping, I'd have the cure for all disease if I could fix bile dumping. But I'm going to tell you that every drug and every supplement that people are touting as like knocking this thing out shuts down your bile production. I have a study on vitamin D3 doing it. They just so happen to combine it with curcumin, which is full of, what color is curcumin again? Oh, that yellowish, orangish color of carotenoids. Oh, you mean they're using vitamin A and vitamin D and it shuts down ALDH and bile production? Weird. What a coinky dink. All of this research has been there for 20 or 30 years, folks. I wish I would have found it earlier, but finding it now. I got to get going to the inner circle. I hope you all enjoyed it today. Thank you for all the questions. I'll probably enable super chats next time so that we can take questions from, people who really want to get their questions answered. Again, if you want to join the inner circle over at the network at nutritiondetective.com, you can join there. Like I said, it's going to be going up to a monthly membership soon. So if you're thinking about joining and you want the lifetime membership, go do it soon. I'd say within the week. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, the Nutrition Detective. Hope you all enjoyed this. I'll hope to see you next Friday, and have a great weekend. Bye now.